So, a lot of people who have been formulating the tier list for 3.5 and are looking at the game to see who they think is the strongest character right now, a lot of people have been putting Menat really high on the tier list, like S or A plus or whatever the kids are using to call their tiers these days. Menat's certainly been winning like a lot of tournaments, mainly with the prominent pro players being like Infiltration has obviously been winning a lot, Goichi, I think Guilty plays Menat as well, Justin Wong, and the character is good. Like the character is fun to play, and the character has strong zoning and really unique opportunities for pressure and mix-ups and. However, I would hesitate to say that the character is as strong as, like, Cammy or Akuma or Guile right now. And, I basically want to make this video to explain what I see people doing wrong when they play against Menat. Because Menat wasn't necessarily that strong when she was first released, not as a direct result of any of the buffs, per se, that were given to this character, but more as a result of people learning how to fight against this character incorrectly is what rapidly made this character much, much stronger. So, in going through each of the things I want to talk about one at a time, one of the first things is that, well, in general, people are just making this matchup a lot harder than it really needs to be. Now, Menat does have excellent zoning, like her buttons, anti-airs, and projectiles, and ability to zone is legitimately strong. And like, there are methods, there is certain tech that you can use to get around the zoning in a more intelligent fashion, but it's still zoning. You have to make the right guesses and take the right risks and try to get in on the opponent to win. And if you can't do that, then you're gonna lose. That is not something that will change. One thing that people can be taking advantage of in certain aspects of Menat's pressure are the gaps that she usually has when throwing her orb, using attacks that are invincible to projectiles, like that. Menat's pressure is pretty hard to deal with because, mainly because of her light orb toss is significantly better on block than her medium orb toss, and it pushes you back quite far, but Menat can still very quickly do the Orb Recall, and you're only slightly plus in those situations. You can still challenge, you just have to use an attack with a longer reach, and probably something that's pretty quick. That being said, it's not that hard to get out of these situations. Jumping backwards will often get you out of Menat's pressure in a lot of cases in which your buttons just won't be fast enough to challenge. And what's unique about the light and medium orb toss from Menat, only going out, not the Orb Recall itself, but when she throws the orb out, light or medium, it's physically impossible to hit you in the air. See, you can land on top of it and still block in time. It can hit you out of jump startup, but once you're airborne, the projectile itself, no matter where its hitbox is, will no longer be able to hurt you. You can take advantage of this in some of Menat's pressure strings to jump out of her pressure, and even turn it into your own offense. Other than that, her normals are very long-reaching, and unlike Dhalsim's, they are very, very fast as well. However, also unlike Dhalsim's, they are much, much worse on block than Dhalsim's are. You can usually take your turn after you block them, especially if your character has especially long-reaching normals that are enough to check Menat after blocking. Like that. That. And that. And what's more is Menat does have good anti-airs. However, She doesn't have particularly fast anti-airs, with the exception of her Light and EX Guardian Sun. So, you can get more jump-ins than you would be able to, like, say, on a Guile, that can always anti-air with a flash kick. And her normals have a lot of recovery that allow you to jump in on them more effectively. What's more, Menat doesn't have particularly damaging anti-airs. That's one of the themes you're going to be seeing throughout this video, is that Menat, when she has the orb, is not threatening. She's hard to get in on, she has really strong zoning, but you can take plenty of risks, and the punishes that she will have available to her are very, very weak. Not enough to dissuade you from continuing to jump in and continuing to do stuff like that. And that's when it gets into the risk-reward of the Menat matchup, is when Menat has the orb and you're trying to get in on her, more so than any of the other zoning characters, you can take those risks. You can just throw out like high priority moves that are unsafe on block, and Menat will not be able to punish them effectively. Menat can't even get a knockdown off of that without spending a bar of meter. So, you need to understand when you can take risks and pay attention to the opponent and see when you're likely to hit, and take those risks, and if they work out, you can get in on the opponent and start pushing your own offense. So Menat's medium punch is terrible on block. It's minus 11 point blank. And but it is extremely fast. So you generally, it's also like minus 5 on hit point blank as well. It's really bad for her. She can use it as a fast poke, but in general it's only a single poke. And if you're pretty close, some of the characters in the game can outright punish it if they block it at like this range. However, once Menat has built V-Trigger, the likelihood of that extremely fast attack that hits really far to hit you is pretty high if you're overextending yourself. So once Menat has V-Trigger, you need to stop pressing your offense as much and back off. You don't want to run into stand strong into V-Trigger activation, because then you'll just eat a full combo into an unavoidable 50-50 situation. What's more, if Menat already has the V-Trigger activated, she can release the orbs without having to input any actions, especially on Wake Up. So, Menat, when she has Trigger activated, can even do Wake Up Super, which is totally invincible, and then use the orbs to keep it safe on block. So, when she has the orbs, it's very difficult to play against her. Your best option, I won't be covering all of the ways that you have to deal with her V-Trigger 1. It's really hard. Like, she becomes much stronger. She gets to cover a lot of her gaps, like her openings in her zoning, because she can release the aerial orbs if she sees you jump in when she's whiffing a normal like that. She can wake up with buttons, she can apply pressure and do mix-ups and link off of like instant overheads and all sorts of stuff. Like, it's hard to deal with. If you have moves that are projectile invincible, especially on frame 1, it's a little better to get through some of the orbs, especially if she's using them to extend her pressure sequences on you. But other than that, your best bet is to just kind of be evasive in a way that's pretty safe, won't get you hit by orbs that will link into big combos, and try to evade her orb releases. And be sure to like anti-air her if she jumps in the air with something that's invincible to projectiles, so you'll get through it. And just don't fall apart and take as many throws as you need to, and just get out of those situations until all the orbs are done, or at least all but the top 2. The top two orbs won't be able to hit you if you're on the ground unless they're released in the air, which means during a jump, during like a short jump into a dive kick, or released during a backdash. Then the top orbs will go at a downward angle that can hit you on the ground. But other than that, the only characters that it can only hit Abigail if Abigail's standing up, because he's so tall. So once you've defused the bottom four orbs, you have a lot more safety. You still can't jump in on her, but that's the main goal, to survive the V trigger. You should also probably still be looking for opportunities to deal damage to Menat if she's overextending herself with the orbs. If not, just for the fact that if you don't deal damage to her during her entire V-trigger, she might actually like have enough health left to build another V-trigger before the round is over, which you definitely don't want happening. So I'm not going to cover like every unsafe move that can be used to circumvent zoning with every character, but as an example, just can't punish with crouching medium punch because it's only -6 on block. Can't combo into V skill. And at most ranges, no, yeah, just at every range, can't even combo into anything like that. So she can't get a knockdown off of this, and she can't punish it with a throw. She's not in range. So if you're Rashid, just do that all the time when she has the orb. Her punishes are so bad. It is so non-risky for her to do that. And if she punishes you with a medium punch, she's -5. And what's more, Rashid can combo off of trades with that move. He can immediately do another V skill, depending on the hit stun that he's subjected to during the trade. Menat can't get a dash-in punish on the Eagle Spike. She can get a knockdown with crouching hard punch. And she can walk forward and get a V skill. And that. And that's the worst that she can do if she has the orb and doesn't have trigger. She does get a dash in on the EX Eagle Spike though. So this is -11 for Rashid. However, it's still not enough for Menat to be able to walk forward and back throw him as a legit punish. He will be able to tech the throw. She can't do that into V skill. So this has tons of push block, and she can only really punish with certain attacks, and won't be able to get a side switch. And the ability to push her that far, especially if she has the orb out, to get that much distance between her and the orb without her being able to put you back in the corner herself, is really good. In general, I think Rashid is the strongest character against Menat, followed by probably like, I don't know, like Ken. Ken's actually really good against Menat, because Ken usually struggles in footsies in a lot of matchups, but footsies don't matter against Menat because you can't really counter poke or whiff punish with most traditional normals, and Ken has a lot of like YOLO moves for getting in that aren't particularly unsafe against Menat, and his V skill allows him to run faster than the orb will come back, and a bunch of other stuff. So Ken's really good against Menat. So this is by far and away the biggest thing that I want to cover and point out as the reason why people are having so much trouble dealing with Menat. Is because people have, a lot of people have sort of decided or believed that when you're between Menat and the Orb, you are in a bad position. That's what people just believe now. That you need to escape that position, you need to walk back, you need to jump out, you need to escape that trap with the Orb Recall coming towards you. But when Menat doesn't have the Orb, her normals get much, much worse. They are much easier to contest. It's not difficult to get in on her zoning. I mean, she still has fast anti-airs, but they're nowhere near as far-reaching. And all of her pokes are just pathetic without the Orb, except for a crouching hard kick. Instead, and once she does the Orb Recall, if she takes damage, the Orb will be nullified. It'll still have to take the travel time to get back to her, but it will not be an attack as it's coming back. What this basically means is that if Menat is recalling the Orb, if she's doing the recall animation like that, you can hit her out of it, and then she's left with just her bad Menat, like, Orbless normals, without the Orb coming back to hit you on the way back. And you have all that time to have superior offense and buttons and way, way more damage to start your own offense and continue to push to the corner. And Menat can escape those situations by moving backwards herself. So I'm going to cover like a bunch of things, but as a general rule, if Menat throws the Orb out, the heavy one especially, but if she throws the Orb out at a great distance, and you are between Menat and the Orb, unless it's in like a pressure series where the Orb's really close to you and you just want to escape the situation, Menat should be losing ground every single time she throws the Orb out. She has to do it to zone to a certain extent, but you should be pushing her to the corner every single time she throws it out. There are plenty of ways that you can pressure her safely even when the Orb is coming back to you. Even if you don't manage to open her up and nullify the projectile that's coming back. And that's generally what I want to demonstrate with this. So, as I explained a bit in my anti-EX Abigail flip video, Menat's Menat's combos just generally get bigger when she has the Orb out. Without the Orb, her punishes are very small, and that's why you can take those risks with those YOLO moves to get in. However, if she has the Orb out, they become a bit more dangerous to do. If you're doing unsafe moves when you're this far away from the Orb, she can just punish you with something big like that. Keep forgetting to change the fucking button. And when the Orb is a bit farther out, she can do something with more hit stun, and then recall the Orb, and get a combo from farther away, which that won't work from that distance, but it will work with the Orb Recall. So that's what she can do from slightly farther away, and then from much farther away, she can't combo using it, unless she does V-Skill, which will launch the opponent back and into the air, which will allow her to combo with the Orb. The range of her V-Skill also decreases when she has when she doesn't have the Orb, as you can see. Which includes the crouching one as well, which has just like no forward range whatsoever when she's barehanded. So if the orb's really far away, she just has no way to combo off of it at all. Unless, of course, she has V-Trigger. Or Super. Like, she can, no matter if she has the orb or not, she can always input Super. Or if she can somehow get close enough to do the crouching V skill, which will allow her to combo the orb from even further distances. And at much, much farther away, nothing. Absolutely no way she can combo off that. She can just get a knockdown. So, knowing this, it's important to know how far away the orb is and how far you can push Menat away from the orb with your attacks. So even if the orb is out and you do something that's unsafe, if the orb is too far away and or you're pushing her too far away for her to punish, like Rashid with that the running like whirlwind that pushes just so far, you can do that on block and push her so far away from her orb that she won't be able to get any real punish. And you'll put her so far away from the orb that you have all that time while the orb is slowly traveling across the screen to press your own offense and open Menat up with a variety of safe options in offense. The safest options being pestering with light attacks and going for throws and shimmies. And command throws, if you have a command throw. So, having explained that, Menat can't punish Ken's V-skill on block with something that will go into her V-skill. She can't do it raw, it's not fast enough, and that won't link. And nothing else will either. So, that is a very, very, very safe option for Ken to do something that has a high priority of hitting, or at least getting him in, and is not particularly punishable. It's not throw punishable, even by Menat with her really good throw range. So, know what moves that you have and how far they will, like how minus they are on block and how far they will push Menat away, like push Menat across the screen, and how far you'll be away from Menat after it's blocked, and whether or not she'll be able to get V-skill, crouching V-skill, or nothing at all, just a normal. And use that to determine how far away the orb has to be for her to no longer be able to combo off of it, which makes it much, much safer for you to do that action to try and get in. Also, a lot of Menat players just don't know about that. Like, they'll always cancel everything into the Orb Recall, even when it won't combo, which you can also take advantage of, but I'll cover that in a little bit later. So, check if your opponent even knows about punishing with the V-skill. And if the answer to that is no, you can get away with a lot more stuff. So when Menat's orb is out, basically, if you're in between Menat and the orb, especially the closer you are to Menat, the better, and at a better frame advantage. The better you can pressure her, especially if you can move faster. Like, Ken's awesome because he can run faster than the orb. So, Ken can do those things and do those small risks that are very insignificant because Menat gets terrible punishes off of them, like one single attack or almost nothing at all. And if the Menat doesn't know the proper punish at different ranges and everything, you can often punish her for making a mistake on what punish to do. But generally, if you're in between Menat and the Orb, you want to pressure with a lot of lights that aren't particularly risky. You don't want to swing with giant heavies that will keep you in block zone for a long time and then get you hit by the Orb due to their recovery. You just want to cancel the Orb so that it becomes deactivated and you can start pressing your offense while she still doesn't have the Orb, but it's also not coming back. Until it reaches her, and then a little bit later. Another thing you want to do is throw. Regular throw is pretty excellent because even if it's teched, it's no problem at all. Because even if it's teched, the tech animation will make you completely invincible and the Orb will just pass through you, generating absolutely no risk. And then you'll probably be at a range where your buttons will might be able to compete with Menat, although Menat's buttons are still very fast, but most of them are pretty bad on block. Like so. So throw is a very, very safe option to try and open her up, in addition to just poking with lights. Another thing that's safe to do is a shimmy, generally with a light attack. Although, it's difficult to shimmy Menat because she has such a long throw range. This is generally only done when you have a lot of distance between Menat and the Orb. So that you have the time to actually perform the shimmy and see the throw and then punish it. But it is safe to the Orb because it's just holding back. It's just walking backwards. It's just blocking. Command throws are also useful, just as any command throws are for opening up an opponent. And Menat doesn't necessarily get excellent punishes on command throws. However, sometimes it'll hit in weird situations like that, and then she won't get consistent punishes on the command throw. She'll just get weird situations like that where she has to adapt and then she won't get a very big punish. Yeah, if she backdashes, she can get something like that. It's still not that much damage, especially not as command throw punishes go. So, same situation with Alex. I mean, like, if she's whiffing, like, big attacks and leaving herself open, there's no reason to not move forward when she puts the orb that far. But what I want to demonstrate now is something a little different than that. Specifically for the heavy orb toss. One that goes in the air. So the orb toss, the heavy orb toss, hits very specifically like where it's looking. So if you're standing, it'll hit you in a lot of situations, but if you're crouching, it won't. And the orb, when it's recalled, will go to Menat's position, which also includes what stance she's in. So if she's crouching, the orb will go lower. Whereas, like, if she's standing like that, the orb will literally never touch you, no matter where you are. If you're crouching, the orb cannot touch you. However, if she's crouching, it will pull the orb down and will still hit you while you're crouching. That being said, there is a unique situation in which, no matter what, if she is blocking something, it doesn't matter if she's stand blocking or crouch blocking, if she's blocking, the orb will move to her position as though she were standing. Which means that if you were to do this, you would block and just stay crouch blocking, and then the orb would come and hit you. But if you force her to block a low, the orb goes straight over your head as if she was still standing. You can use this to your advantage. And you can, if she's recalling the orb, and you're in range to do any crouching normal, there is no reason why you shouldn't be doing so. The orb cannot hit you if you force her to block something, or if you hit her. So when Menat cancels and normal into the Orb Recall, if the orb isn't going to hit you right away, it is typically minus. And even if it's not, you still have all that time to, until the orb actually becomes a threat to try and open her up. Especially if it's being recalled from the heavy position, in which case you are free to do crouching normals as much as you want. So you can look and see each individual button that Menat can cancel into the Orb Recall, and how to punish it. Because most of them you can legitimately punish. Crouching medium kick, unfortunately, you're really rarely ever going to be close enough to punish it, and it's only -3. But most of her other normals, other than her heavy normals, are pretty, you can punish them. That one's -5. And all of her lights are terribly minus. They're hard to react to, but they're atrociously minus. And oftentimes you can just assume that the Menat is going to cancel into the Orb Recall. And if they cancel it into the Soul Spark, the explosion, and it's not going to hit you, then no matter what she cancels it from, you'll always be able to punish that. So this will happen a lot when you get on the opposite side of Menat. This situation will happen if the orb's in the complete other side and you don't have to worry about it. She'll often try to cancel a normal into the Orb Recall, and a lot of the times you can punish her for doing that. Or if you've just managed to push her really far away from the orb, which means that you're generally doing a good job. Lastly, I just want to summarize all the tools that generally makes a character really good against Menat, and some of the reasons why Rashid and Ken are so good against Menat. One of the most important things is having really good YOLO neutral moves that are pretty rewarding on hit, and lead to combos with a lot of corner carry. And generally just good damage to melt her health bar once you manage to get in on her and force her to the corner. So, characters with moves like that. They're all really good. Having a projectile is also pretty good. not necessarily zoning with it. Guile has a really hard time against Menat. Guile gets outzoned by Menat because of the projectile reflectors. But just having a projectile to be able to combat her in just normal footsies, especially outside the range where you'll be punished by anything but a jump in, is really handy. And when you do force her to do the reflect, you can like jump in on it and other stuff. So having good like crush counters, just having good pressure and ways to open the opponent up in general is good, especially if they're just better than Menat's normals when she doesn't have the orb with her. Having good shimmy tools, especially shimmies that you can do with non-committal moves like light attacks, is really good. And checking which of your YOLO moves, how hard they can be punished on block in the various situations. With when she has the orb, how far away she needs to be from the orb and able to, in order to punish it with a full combo, or if she can even, if that's even possible, which it's not against Ken's quick step or step kick, which is why it's so good in the matchup. Having good ways of good projectile invincible moves or otherwise just evasive moves in general is really good. And other types of YOLO moves that aren't just like for knockdowns or combos, like Colleen's V-skill, which Menat is good whiff punishes because her normals are fast and they go really far, but they're not particularly damaging. So if you just whiff Colleen's V-skill like right around here, you can do this a lot, and the reward on hit is so much more than the whiff punish. And also, in addition to that, certain characters have moves that are capable of whiff punishing Menat's normals. They do have a lot of recovery, so if you space yourself right, you can whiff punish them. That's a thing you can do with Colleen, is you can just do light vanity steps, and it's a pretty safe move to just throw out. And then if you see like a big normal or a fireball come out during it, you can just hit the punch button to do the follow-up. It's a good tool against projectile characters and characters with big normals that you need a big whip punch for, like Abigail. This works really well. Doing this works really well against Abigail. So, another tool that some characters have is a lot of characters have moves that just move them forwards as those YOLO tools. Like Ken's step kick is like this, where he just runs forward, but he will still run into the heavy orb on the way out. It's not particularly damaging, but still. Some moves will still get beaten out by that and other pokes. So it's also good to have certain moves that move you forward that go underneath that without running into it. Most attacks that move you forward, like most charged characters, will still, when they do the charge move, they'll just run head first into that the heavy orb toss. But certain characters have moves that are a little bit better at going underneath it. That's another move that Karen's body is actually really low to the ground during this move, even though it doesn't look like it, and she'll go underneath that easily. She's actually so low that she can go like right underneath like Abigail's crouching light punch, which is nuts. Another useful tool to have is a long-range crouching normal to do the thing I talked about and force them to crouch block or get hit by the low, which makes it so you don't have to block the orb if it's coming back from the heavy orb toss position. The longer range your crouching normal, the better. Another good thing to have is a way to side switch when you punish the V reversal. Another important tool to have is a good jump in, just for getting around the zoning. And just good movement in general, especially good forward walk speed, which allows you to do more shimmies and be more aggressive, just in general. Good pushback and push block are also really important. Anything that pushes her further away from the orb. And good long-range, non-committal light attacks for poking. Trying to catch a single hit to deactivate the orb without committing to something that'll get you punished. And having an invincible reversal is also always helpful, especially since Menat doesn't get the greatest punishes on it, although they are stronger than her punishes on pretty much everything else. But it can be useful to use an invincible reversal in certain situations to punish things that she can normally keep safe with her V-trigger orbs, or, you know, power through her V-trigger orb frame traps, or just do on wake up when you don't think she'll be able to do much damage to you as a punish. Another thing a lot of Menat players like to do is they like to jump around and do jumping hard kick, which has tons of range, or dive kick around. So having good anti-airs, especially having long-range anti-airs that are capable of punishing neutral jumps like that, are pretty good. Lastly, an important tool to have is something that will beat Crouch Jab. So Crouch Jab, especially with the orb on, is an infuriating button that's 4 frames startup and has absurd range for a 4-frame normal. It has a ton of active frames and generally beats everything. So a lot of characters struggle to find a way to deal with this, especially in block strings that would know that they would normally be able to pressure during. They can't find a way. So any fireball character can just so any fireball character can use fireballs as a poke, and it can't be interrupted. So they can catch Menat poking with that. You can crush counter from far away. But yeah, generally this button is one of the hardest to deal with, and it's really tough to get anything through. And it's really fast, so it's not like she won't be able to anti-air in time if you try to jump over it. It just beats the startup of a lot of things. It has more range and active frames than anything else. So, if your character has a good answer to that, That's an important tool as well. I said that was the last thing, but I also forgot to talk a little bit more about Menat's medium punch and just how bad it is on block. So, not every character gets a great punish to this move, but depending on the range, you should know if and how your character can punish it at certain distances after blocking it. Menat will never get away from Mika's punches, no matter what range you're at. And that's pretty much all I wanted to cover with playing against Menat. I think she's a strong character. I don't think she's as good as like Cammy or Akuma or Guile. But she's certainly strong. So there's no need to make her any stronger than she already is by not taking advantage of situations where you're given a golden opportunity to start your own offense. I mean, half the matches I watch people playing against Menats, like, the people are cornering themselves and then killing themselves, like getting hit by the orb, backing off when they should be going in, when, just so that they don't have to be between Menat and the orb. So, you know, fixing those things and then understanding the tech and what your options are is really important, and I think should help people play against this character a lot, and should also force the Menat players to have to play better on defense, and force them to use other tech that Menat has, counter tech, where you know, actually fighting with her own unarmed normals, and using some other things, like she can instant air dive kick, and it has some priority over buttons, which she can use in certain situations to beat people with superior footsies when she's doesn't have the orb on. There's tons of stuff she can do about it, although she'll never be like as strong as like another character, say, but she can still fight when you know, you're pushing her away from the orb. But not taking advantage of those situations is just not going in on the zoning character. It's just letting the zoning character push you to the corner, or rather, going to the corner while the zoning character just follows you. So, I hope that helped, and I some of you, whoever watched this, learned something you didn't know before. For example, like, I can't fucking believe they gave Ryu this. But basically, you can parry anything, and this is totally invincible. And even if the opponent is blocking whatever you parry, like that, Ryu is still +5 on block for some reason. So, he has an amazing answer to the Orb Recall, because even if he doesn't open the opponent up in time, he can still, in V-Trigger 2, just do that, and if the opponent's not blocking, he'll get the crumple, and if they are blocking, he's +5. That's the greatest. It sucks that his V-Trigger 1 is now completely useless, but, yeah, this seems pretty cool.